So I have essentially three sections that we want to talk about tonight. Tonight it's 7:12, so we'll start talking about those three sessions. The first section is why complaining won't help. If you are of the mindset that I'll just go to that person's higher up and get them to do what I want them to do, or I'll go to the higher up and I'll get them fired or get them scared that they're going to be fired as a way of making the person do what I need them to do, you might find yourself very disappointed. So, in the complaint process, there is a chain of command. And the chain of command differs at universities, but kind of goes a little like this. You have the first line of communication as your professor. After that, your program coordinator. You need to know who that person is. After that, you need to know who the department chair is. So if you have a problem you need aired out, you need understood, first person you go to is scheduling a meeting with your professor to provide your side and open to a discussion. And we'll talk about how to handle that discussion in a few minutes, but that's your first person. If you're not satisfied there, if you reach no resolution there, then you meet with your program coordinator. Once again, relationships. If that doesn't work, your department chair. And if you still reach an impasse there, which you probably shouldn't, now you're at the point where you have to step outside of your department to voice your concerns. After that department chair, the next is your assistant or associate dean. Right? So you go to your assistant associate dean. That's the first step outside of your department to air a grievance or to be understood. Now, most grievances we have a route to take and they're official, like a grade change is not this. There are grade change processes by which you can do what you need to do. But after your assistant dean, if you still reached no resolution and you still feel it's necessary to be heard, then you approach the dean of the college. So let's get that right. Professor, program coordinator, department chair, assistant or associate dean, then dean. If you try to leap all the way over from professor to dean, guess what the dean's probably going to do? They're probably sending you back to the department. The department chair is going to ask, have you talked to the professor? And if you say, yes, I did, and it didn't work, well, have you talked to the program coordinator? Who's that? Now you know where you got to go. So there's no sense in jumping the line. Just follow the chain of command and respect the process. Remember, you're complaining, but these are also people that you need. And people are not inclined to help those who they think are trying to come after their jobs and their livelihoods. It's just not human nature. And we'll talk about that in a second too. Now, most situations that you're going to have grievances about are really not actionable. They're left to the interpretation of the syllabus, of the creator of the syllabus, which is the professor. So please understand, in most situations that you may grapple with, you don't like a particular assignment. You don't like the timing of the assignment. You feel there's too many assignments. You feel there's not enough assignments. All of these things that you feel are pretty much not that actionable. They're kind of left to the syllabus interpretation of the professor. They created a course, they created a syllabus, they created it in mind of what you needed to know. You don't necessarily know what you needed to know. So your complaint about it is really about the nature of the course and not necessarily the professor. Then that's really not that actionable. If the professor's done something to you, then you may have recourse to then go and talk to the program coordinator. Or at first talk to the professor and explain how you felt and what happened, and hopefully y'all can reach a resolution as to how to move forward. Not satisfied there, then start the process of the chain of command. I don't want you to get wrapped into that, but sometimes you do have a legitimate grievance, but you have to follow the chain of command to make sure that you've done everything possible before you go outside of the department and go up to the dean and things like that and get sent back. Now, understand this too. Most professors have colleagues, not bosses. There are very few people who can actually come to that professor into their classroom and say, pack your stuff, you're gone. This is not Xerox. This is not FedEx. This is not Microsoft. This is not a situation where people are at will and can come in and pack your stuff and let's go. Most of the professors are contracted. They have an actual contract. And the program coordinator and the department chair are really just colleagues of theirs, not their bosses. The associate dean walks a funny role of kind of being more colleague than boss. The dean may be able to act as boss, but they're also still kind of colleague-ish, so most of us have colleagues and not bosses. So the idea that you're going to get someone fired that week, it's probably not going to happen, So that's the one thing. Understanding the complaint process and the chain of command is going to really aid you if you have a grief that's actionable. Now, the second thing you have to understand is that why complaining will not work is that the world of higher ed is small, particularly in your building, in your university. It's a small world. So no one works with difficult people. If you've put yourself in a position where you are now being viewed as difficult, it's going to be seen by more than just your professor. It's going to be seen by your other professors. It's going to be seen when you start complaining. It's going to be, who is this person? And if you've been positioned as a difficult person, please understand, no one wants to work with difficult people. And reputations are hard to shake in higher education. Once you are known as being a difficult person, as a person who's going to try to go to the dean on somebody, please remember that professor and other professors are going to be the people you want on your committee and the person you want to be your dissertation chair. Why would they work with you if you're complaining about assignments? Why would they put themselves in harm's way to be on your committee, knowing that you will actually try to come after them if you don't get your way? No one wants to be on a type of committee like that. The next thing you need to know that'll help you is that professors watch their neighbors' fires. There's an old saying, and I'll probably get it dead wrong, but you, as a wise firefighter, you put out your neighbor's fire before the winds blow it your way. So before I experience a fire myself, if I see a fire in the distance, I'm going to put that fire out before it gets to me. Or I'm at least going to watch the fire and prepare for the day that the fire comes my way. So please understand, how you treat others indicates to the outside how you'll treat them. And professors are watching. Professors are aware. And if they watch how you complain or you become a sour patch in your cohort or your group and you're known as the complainer, people are watching and people know that. And it goes against human nature to help a person who is trying to go against your job and trying to take your job. So the human inclination is to work with people who are most involved and most inclined to produce work. I know of situations where a student has complained, not that something was done to them, but they were trying to complain that the professor gave favoritism to some students, because some students were publishing, they were presenting at conferences and things like that, and the person would feel like that professor shows favoritism towards them and against me. Please understand that it's human inclination to work with people who are most involved. Professors are going to work with those students who are shown that they are most involved and that they are willing to work. The student who shows the most promise to advance beyond the doctorate is probably going to be helped by the professor more than others, more than the person who just wants to go to class and go home and get the credential. If you show promise, professors will see that and work with you. One of my first publishing opportunities came from a paper I wrote my first semester in the fall. My professor and others that I was working with, other colleagues that I was working with, saw promise in it. And then over the Christmas break, they reached out and asked, would I be interested in taking that paper and turning it into something publishable? Well, that's an opportunity. They evidently saw promise in what I wrote and saw an opportunity to actually do more with it. And because I was so eager to do this, because I wanted to be a professor and I wanted to go in that route, I took advantage of the opportunity that was offered to me. Now, someone on the outside may be looking at that and saying, well, he's a kiss up and they're just favoring him. But what they favored was a person they saw who had some promise. And I've witnessed professors do that. It's natural human inclination. If you see a person with that level of potential to cultivate it, it would be a crime to do less. So please understand that. If you want to put yourself in a position where you are receiving everything you need, show the promise, show the work, show the potential. Make sure they know who you are and not position yourself as a student who goes to class and goes home and you're just there for the credentials.